Hi, everyone. This is Charles Hoskinson broadcasting live from warm, sunny Colorado. Always warm, always sunny, sometimes Colorado. Today is June 13th, 2022, excuse me. Still tired. Just got back from Consensus. 17,000 people showed up. We had a community event with over 1,200 people there. A lot of VIP stuff. We had a lovely party, and Elijah Wood showed up and was DJing, and Ice Cube showed up. So I never in my life thought we'd be doing these types of things, but it was fun. Gave away a bunch of Stetson hats, and Texas is always enjoyable. I ate way too much barbecue, but that's what you do when you're in Consensus. You know, the event was pretty special in that we had an outsized impact, I think, as an ecosystem. Right now, there's a strong hunger for stability, quality, and certainty. You notice that Bitcoin is down about 14% today. Markets are not doing very well, and there's a good chance we could see 20,000 or less Bitcoin. And that's just because things were overheated and things are now retracting. The equity markets are terrible. Inflation concerns are significant. Interest rates are going up. We are in a recession in a global sense. It's hard to get anything done when it's $7 for a gallon of diesel. It's $28, I think, for 4 liters. Just gives you a sense of how expensive things are. So the power of Consensus with that, we had a chance to engage with a lot of builders in the ecosystem, the Cardano ecosystem, and ask them, why are you here? What are you doing? Are you here from the long haul, or are you here for, a short term? And every one of them, passion, it's problem solving, pushing hard, and they're just getting it done. It was really remarkable to see all the different things, from air nodes that are broadcasting internet across an entire country to completely new worlds that are being built, metaverses being built, ton of NFTs, a lot of really interesting things on the DEX side, and a lot of excitement. A lot of great conversations about developer experience. We had several really deep meetings with a lot of people in the DeFi side of the Cardano ecosystem about new feature requests. We also talked a lot about the Cardano open source project, which we'll probably, as an ecosystem, be able to make an announcement sometime in September about. The long and the short is that things are moving towards a member-based organization. The time has come for that type of organization. So an enormous amount of intersourcing, a lot of stuff getting off Jira, and it's going to be a very busy summer, all things considered. And there's a sense of calm, I feel, about everybody that we have, because, well, every day is the same. We just work. We just get it done. Everybody in the ecosystem is building. And that's a lot of fun. And we learn a lot along the way, and we keep publishing. Input endorsers are coming along and are making huge progress there. And Duncan and team are really digging into the deep nuances of the problem. We continue to evolve the network stack of Cardano as an ecosystem and find new use cases and utility. Ton of progress on Mithril, ton of progress on Hydra. There really aren't any surprises in that sense. And you see all the surprises that the space has. When you look at the Celsiuses or the Terra Lunas or these other things, I think you get into a lot of trouble when you try to financial engineer your way into super amazing, guaranteed permanent returns. The reality is, any human endeavor, whether it be a technological endeavor, a commodity endeavor, an intellectual endeavor, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be successes and failures, and there are no guarantees in that respect. Our industry is no different, and just because we're adding the word crypto doesn't in any way, shape, or form change the laws of financial physics, where in the absence of diversification, in the absence of deep research, in the absence of risk management, you'll see tremendous volatility. And inevitably, lots of winners and losers, much more biased towards the loser side. And our industry amplifies that because it's a new industry and there's exciting new things here. I've engaged a lot with lawmakers over the last month and a half, 2 months, and we've had very deep and detailed discussions Senate hearings are coming. Congressional inquiries are coming. There's a lot of interest in the legislative branch about the future of cryptocurrencies. And what's positive about that conversation is there's a wholesale acknowledgement amongst most reasonable politicians that crypto is here to stay. Markets go up, markets go down. Some people commit fraudulent behavior. But just like the traditional marketplaces and traditional technologies, that no way invalidates the fact that this is a revolutionary technology that has a lot of use and utility behind it, that is fundamentally transformative. That said, rules need to be established. The game has to be kind of figured out, because right now it's not working as well as it needs to. And so finally, the legislative branch is waking up to that, and something will come in the United States. And I believe that something will, like Sarbanes-Oxley or these other standards, ripple through the entire world, and regulations will be made in reflection of, contrast to, or a merger in some capacity with what the US standards become. From our part, we're trying to solve fundamental questions. For example, we're very concerned about the notion of decentralization. To that end, we're going to bootstrap up a decentralization index and try to start measuring things just so we can start the conversation. It is my hope that that index eventually can become embedded at NIST or some standards body like that, and be used as a common metric that people can score to demonstrate that their ecosystems have achieved certain milestones. We need definitions for throughput. We need a Consumer Protections Bill of Rights to clearly articulate the rules of the road. On the innovation side, RegTech is going to be one of the fastest growing parts, I think, of the cryptocurrency industry. The automation of KYC and AML, the embedding of identity and metadata into transactions for certain use cases makes a lot of sense. The problem is that there seems to be a visceral, almost childish attempt to say that anything along these lines is problematic. Let's be very clear here. No lawmaker in the United States, no member of the executive branch is responsible for BitConnect or Terra Luna. None. We are as an industry. And for some reason, we don't think it appropriate as an industry to accept and own the mistakes that were made and acknowledge that people have been hurt. And if we are able to do that, then we can gain some wisdom, and we can come collectively up with an approach that means we can continue operating as an industry the way that we as an industry would like, without the moral hazards that continue to appear again and again and again and again and again and again. This bear market is a great opportunity. It's an opportunity for rivalries to be set aside. It's an opportunity for poaching to stop. It's an opportunity for the toxicity that we see amplified by social media and by community managers trying to gain points on people to fade away, and for us to collaborate on standards, on laws, on basic technology, research, these types of things. We have consistently reached out to many different organizations, from members of the Hyperledger groups, from Firefly to others, to create alliances like the UTXO Alliance, other cryptocurrencies like the Horizons and the Ergos of the world. And we have a great relationship across the board with many of the science coins, including Algorand. In many cases, people flow back and forth between the two organizations. And that will continue because we gain knowledge both ways through that collaboration. This is how it should be in a bear market. We should be building. We should be deeply considering the direction and point of what we do as an industry. We should be engaging and discussing things with people. And ultimately, we should be converging to a point where we can look back and say, we did something well. It is unreasonable to believe that self-custody is the only answer for every single person. What about the person who gets Alzheimer's? What about the person who dies suddenly? Your keys are lost. No estate planning, no inheritance. Solutions need to be built. The point of the industry isn't about stripping one philosophy away and replacing it with another. The point of the industry is to give people choice of what philosophy they want to be in. Do not deny people the right to self-custody, but also don't tell people who choose to do something differently that they have somehow committed a moral sin. It's a choice. We weren't given that choice before cryptocurrencies. We were told how the banking system works. We were told what level of economic agency and privacy and the nature of our identity. Now, for the first time ever, we have a say. It's a small window of time, and people will attempt to strip it from us if we don't, in this small window of time, solidify the rights that we're starting to give ourselves back. But the way to get there is to listen to the complaints. It's to listen to the concerns, the moral hazards, the things that are happening. These down days are great opportunities for those reflections. And there's no reason entrepreneurs can't build great experiences. There's no reason entrepreneurs can't build great technology, better wallet interfaces, better ways of recovering wallets, better ways of storing keys, safer ways of doing those things that improve everything. For our part, I think we need to find a way to take the entire US code, all laws in the United States and other nations, and make them machine understandable. Make them a digital object that can be manipulated and transformed and used with AI and other techniques so that they can be embedded into smart contracts. And entrepreneurs can ask simple questions of whether, is this transaction legal or not, without necessarily needing to consult a lawyer. That's the future we could go towards. We also can start exposing the inconsistencies, contradictions, and loopholes of the current legal system and work with lawmakers to fix those things where and when they make sense. It's a lot to be among the leaders in this industry. You have to be an expert, it seems, on everything, and you always have to bat 1,000. You're judged harshly when you don't, and you're seldom given credit when you do. But that doesn't matter because it's a collective effort of the masses that matters. That's who we are. Cardano did not get, nor did Ethereum or Bitcoin, to where it's at by the tireless work of an individual. Got there because a large group of people decided it's a fundamentally good idea to choose freedom and liberty. And thus, we must remember that lesson on the down days, the bear days. We must consider that lesson, and we must take it to heart. And we have to find a way to make what we do as accessible and inviting as any other endeavor, more so if possible. Again, I'll ask, and I'll probably ask every day, we have to set aside the toxicity in this industry, the backbiting in this industry, and we have to be intellectually honest in this industry about the things that are not working well. We need cross-chain standards. We need smart contract standards. We need to have the regulatory conversation because it's right now being had with or without us as an industry. So it's incredibly important that we be participants in that so that we can influence and change it to a point where the innovation, the job growth, the amazing things this industry brings, the resilience that this industry brings, the change in thinking that this industry brings is preserved. Otherwise, it will be absorbed by CBDCs, permission systems, and ultimately a dystopian reality where the few have absolute control over the data, identity, and value of the many. We cannot allow that to happen. And it will by default if we continue being petty as an industry. It will by default if we continue to succumb to the demons of maximalism. And it will by default happen if we don't innovate our way out of it. A lot of work we have to do. And in the coming weeks and months, we'll continue doing it. Cardano ecosystem is definitely doing it. And there are 14 wallets in the Cardano ecosystem now. It's pretty impressive considering it started with just one. We have to create certification standards as an ecosystem to ensure that they're safe wallets, that when people use them, they can have a reasonable expectation of security. There are over 1,000 projects building on Cardano right now by tens of thousands of people around the world. We have to ensure that when those projects are deployed as an ecosystem, that they adhere to basic standards so that we don't suffer from what's happened by other chains. There are enormous questions of intellectual property, legal wrappers for DAOs, all kinds of things that are brought up in the governance of these dApps, as well as the assets of them, such as NFTs. The only way we're going to get there is if we get there together. We're trying to do our part at I/O with the Edinburgh Decentralization Index and a lot of deep discussions with policymakers to try to figure this out. And of course, our engineers, more than 200 of them, working on Cardano every day in different ways, just in our company, and 15 other companies working on Cardano, many of which you saw at Consensus in their way, some with differences of opinion. There are some things you can do for a call to action. You may have noticed that people are starting to work for Cardano full-time now or part-time. Not a company, but the blockchain itself. I would like to see over the next 6 months, 3 to 5 more SIP editors come from the same process that Sebastian from DC Spark followed. If you are technical and you have time to spend to read SIPs and speed up the SIP process, review them, then I would love to see you apply for funding from Catalyst. If you do so, I'll definitely look at it. If you're a reasonable candidate, I'll throw my support behind you too. I think it's really important that we build up a deep bench of people. The same for anyone building infrastructure and tooling the Cardano ecosystem. This is not a wait and see. If you're building, go to Catalyst. Let's find a way to get you funded in Catalyst so you can work directly for Cardano and continue to build. The same for ambassadors, the same for people who are involved in every aspect of the ecosystem. The time has come for 1,000 flowers to bloom from the community, not just a few companies here and there, but from the community to add to the already large group of people working on Cardano and add diversity, checks and balances and controls to an already resilient system. These are the things that we need immediately. If you're technical, you understand Plutus, the Cardano Stack Exchange, answer questions, mentor people, go to GitHub and recommend new documentation. We need to collaborate in that respect. And as I mentioned, a members-based open source project is imminent. And if you have a company or you're an individual and you would like to sit on a governance steering committee, technical steering committee, we're going to put up a website just to try to collect names and information so that we can send out a whole package of information at the announcement. So we can start building a small army in that respect. These are short-term things we can do. And now if you are interested in law and policy, write your congressman and write your senator and tell them what you think we ought to do as an ecosystem. Spend some time and read the bills, the Lummis bill and others, and the summaries of them, and try to really understand what is going on. We need tax standards, custody standards, asset definition standards. I just was at a book signing with Don Tapscott. He just finished a book called Digital Asset Revolution. The front cover, there are 9 little tiles on it. Each one of them represents a different type of digital asset. Under U.S. law, we don't even have a proper taxonomy of digital assets. This is housekeeping that needs to be done. And these are essential pieces of foundational legislation that need to be passed in order for us to be able to navigate our way and have regulatory clarity so that we as an industry can survive and grow and thrive. Be part of that process. Talk to your state representatives, your federal representatives, and let's work together on that. Again, we'll try our best to lead, and we'll try our best to work with you and find other leaders to lead as well. But we're only one small voice in a very big chorus. And I do not want this industry to be defined by the Celsiuses and the Lunas, the BitConnects, and all the other things that have come before that have resulted in catastrophic loss or failure, overpromises, and ultimately destruction. We just can't allow that to happen. It's not right. It's not who we are. It's not why we set out to do these things. We set out to do these things to build one system for everyone, one collection of protocols for everyone that gives each and every person equal consideration, inclusive accountability, and an assurance that they will preserve, maintain, and enjoy the fruits of their labors with liberty. I think that's fair. And that's the lowest common denominator that I think we can agree on and achieve. Everything else, there's of course going to be differences of opinions based on facts and circumstances. But each and every human being is entitled to freedom and is entitled to assurances that they're going to be treated equally with their peers as a condition of birth. It's who we are, and it's the society we should live in. We as people have failed in delivering that. And while we can write pretty language on constitutions and try to build institutions to preserve and protect these things, the institutions get corrupted, the constitutions get ignored, and ultimately people are people. Machines need to be used to preserve certain things, certain liberties, your right to privacy, your money, your identity. These things, they matter. And that's why we created Cardano. Our best effort at trying to figure out how to preserve those things and get as many people as possible to believe these things matter too. So it's a hard day, I can imagine, for many people. But for the people here at I.O. and for many in this project, just another day. It's a Monday. And there's going to be a Tuesday, and there's going to be a Wednesday. And that's the mentality I think you all should have to have if you truly do want to change the world. There are hard days all the time, and there are good days. But you have to keep the faith, keep the discipline, and keep pushing forward. So I look forward to the AMAs. I'm going back. Hopefully I'll be able to do one this weekend. As I said, we're building a nice little studio. We'll add some more formats and cool things. Of course, there's always announcements throughout the year, always things to do throughout the year. Consensus was an incredibly successful event, I think, for our ecosystem and for us. It really showed the world that Cardano exists, and there's a lot of unwritten stories as a result of that footprint that we left. In fact, some people jokingly said that Consensus was a Cardano event, and I'm pretty happy about that. I also heard that the MetaMask booth, which was right next to the Cardano booth, complained about the noise because there were simply too many people there. And we said, well, if you have an issue, you can always send an email to support@iohk.io. Anyway, tongue-in-cheek aside, let's get this done. Thank you for being part of this community. And to the rest of the space, we're all open for business. Let's get it done. Cheers.